These days, the most stunning thing about capitalism is the drive it seems to have to self destruct. What an amazing reality that a country with the biggest defense establishment in the world cannot defend itself against the COVID-19 virus half as well as dozens of countries with much less military and many fewer resources.
The fundamental purpose of government, and this is something that conservatives and liberals both agree on, is to keep the people safe and secure. If you think about the CDC's annual budget, it's about $11 billion a year. In comparison, one defense contractor alone, Lockheed Martin, earns almost $50 billion a year from federal government contracts. That's about 5 times as much as the United States spends on the CDC. All the money the United States spends on jets, satellites, aircraft carriers, cyber warfare capabilities, it would total almost $1 trillion a year.
Madam President, I believe in a strong military, but we cannot continue to give more money to the Pentagon than it needs. We are spending more on the military than the next 11 nations combined. That's Russia, China, UK, France, you name it. More than all of them combined. We are talking about the need to defeat our most immediate adversary right now, an adversary that has taken in recent months over 120,000 American lives. And that, of course, is the coronavirus.
When the coronavirus crisis began, defense contractors sought assurance from the federal government that they would be protected and taken care of, even if their workers couldn't go to the office or do their jobs because of mandated social distancing requirements. The federal government committed to supporting major defense contractors in the United States because it considered them strategically important corporations.
The defense industry is relatively immune to the vicissitudes of the economy. In a few days to regroup, Lockheed surged up to $380 today.
Major American defense contractors are for-profit, publicly traded corporations. And there's a real moral hazard here, because no matter what they do, the federal government is always going to have their back and support them.
In other words, these companies, and I'm talking about Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, for all intents and purposes, are governmental agencies. Over 90% of their revenue comes from the taxpayers.
A plane from the US-backed Saudi-led coalition struck a bus carrying them. Dozens died. Munitions experts tell CNN this was a US-made Mark Mk-82 bomb. This number here denotes Lockheed Martin, one of the top US defense contractors.
And Lockheed Martin isn't the only major US defense contractor. There are dozens of corporations that make billions and billions of dollars a year. Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Boeing. These are major companies that make billions of dollars that have been not much use to us during the coronavirus pandemic, which represents one of the greatest existential threats the United States has faced, perhaps in its history.
As it's achieved increasingly apocalyptic proportions in this country, there still doesn't seem to be any sort of initiative to get something like test and trace going so that we could reopen without compromising safety. Like, the fact that it's still not going now kind of makes me think we live in a failed state.
We have research and development into planes that the military does not need. But we can't get gloves and gowns and plastic face shields to our healthcare workers in the middle of a pandemic. So from a manufacturing standpoint, from a priority standpoint, public health has been left by the wayside for far too long. And I think when we come out of this pandemic, we need a reorganization, we need a reprioritization of our values. And that also includes funding into public health.
We have an aversion to sort of public health and to health overall in the US, because somehow got thought of as a handout, a giveaway. There's something sort of socialist about the idea of providing basic services to your population. And so reframing it as sort of a national security priority is one thing, but I don't think it gets at the sort of aversion that many politicians in the US have to social spending and health spending in particular.
I think about, how easy that last military funding bill went through Congress before this all started. It, like, bipartisan, there was just no brakes on it whatsoever. It's like, it's always, how can we pay for this? And it's never with militarization.
The 2020 National Defense Authorization Act is about making sure our warfighters have the tools, resources, and equipment you need to fight and to win, all the time to win.
We don't have enough masks, we don't have enough gowns.
We're making our military stronger and more powerful than ever before.
We don't have enough gloves, we don't have enough nasal swabs.
And if you saw where we started from not so long ago,
we don't have enough vials for tests. We're short on reagents.
You'd really be amazed. I want to thank everybody, but I want to also thank those great companies that really designed, made this equipment, because I have seen it and I've seen much of it in action, and I've frankly never seen anything like it in my life. So I just want to congratulate you all, because together we are protecting our people, our values, our traditions, and our glorious American flag.
If the horrific pandemic we are now experiencing has taught us anything, it is that national security means a lot more than building bombs, missiles, jet fighters, tanks, submarines, nuclear warheads, and other weapons of mass destruction. National security also means doing everything that we can to make sure that every man, woman, and child in this country lives with dignity and security.
The slogan for our time can be and should be, we can do better than capitalism. We can take care of our needs, meet our needs, and do without the subordination of everything to the private profit of a few.